Saratoga County Community Development Committee meeting is now called to order. Ashley, would you please call the roll?
Calling the roll, Mr. Jones.
Here.
Mr. Brady.
Here.
Ms. Stevens. Ms. Stevens is absent at the moment. Ms. Simon. Here. Mr. Gallagher. Mr. Gallagher is absent at the moment. We have a quorum.
Excellent. And Mike's in the building. All right, great. Ashley, has anyone signed in for public comment?
No, Mr. Chair, no one has signed in.
All right. Can we have approval for the minutes from our November 5th meeting? We have been moved and seconded. All in favor say aye. The minutes are approved. All right, well, we have one item on our agenda today, a sale of tax lien certificates. And Ashley, if you would please read that item into the record.
Resolution number 2018-0248, authorizing a contract with Finch Investment Group, LLC, as purchaser and servicer in the amount not to exceed $12 million for the sale of tax lien certificates.
All right. If you'd like to speak to this matter.
Good morning, members of council. Chris Murray, Cuyahoga County Treasurer, presenting to you an agreement with Finch Investment Group. As you know, Ohio Revised Code allows County Treasurer to sell the state of Ohio's first lien to qualified purchasers in order to collect delinquent taxes. The county receives these delinquent taxes, and the selected purchaser is allowed to make payment arrangements with those affected taxpayers in order to achieve reimbursement. The agreement with Finch Investment Group, FIG LLC, is for, at this point, 994 certificates valued at approximately $9.2 million. The county will receive, in this deal, the county will receive up to $9.2 million plus administrative fees. FIG is headquartered in Florida and has 5 years of experience in the lien industry with business in 9 states, 300 jurisdictions, and 3 Ohio counties. I briefly want to talk about a few features of the agreement. We have achieved a 14% interest rate, which is 4 percentage points lower than Ohio Revised Code allows. And actually, that is a reduction from our previous tax lien certificate agreement of 2%. So code allows 18, we were at 16, and we're now at 14%. We also, FIG also provides a live call center as well as a website for taxpayers. Payment plans will include an itemized calculation of the beginning balance for taxpayers. There's a 14-day cure period, so if a taxpayer is late, they have 14 days to make payment without any ramifications. There's also now it will be a 24/7 access to a collection platform for county personnel, so we will have on-time, immediate access to all certificates purchased by FIG. We'll have payment terms. We'll be able to pull our own reports anytime we so choose. We also now have assignment notices for liens of affected taxpayers. And the way that's going to work is, as part of our Revised Code, a purchaser can assign a lien to almost anyone. The agreement before you will ensure that there is a notice not only to us as the seller, but also to the taxpayer that's going to be affected. They will be told that their lien has been assigned, and they will have contact information provided to them so that they can continue making their payments to the new lien holder. And also, we know that FIG also has a local office here in Ohio City. Now, before the execution, the sale is made, we have what we call a pre-sale collection period. So I just want to give you a little bit of data about that before any questions. The initial portfolio given to our interested parties or interested people that were interested in purchasing the portfolio was approximately 4,000 parcels, valued at about $32 million. Taxpayers are given 60 plus days to redeem those parcels or come into our office and make payment arrangements. So far, we've collected $1.7 million since October 1st. And just a few details, 184 of those parcels have redeemed in full. That averages out to about $6,000 per redemption. And at this point, 400, and this is as of November 28th, 491 payment plans have been established. So again, that also keeps affected taxpayer out of the lien sale. Now, assuming we can achieve full council approval on December 11th, taxpayers will actually have another 7 days to come in and make payment arrangements or to redeem to the county before the sale is executed. We also, I have a representative from FIG here, Mr. Donald Miles, if you have any questions. Do you have any questions for me?
Yes, thank you for the presentation. Questions from the committee?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Murray, I just, remind me if a particular city in Cuyahoga County, they'll have a list, they'll receive a list of these properties. They have a certain amount of time to intervene or give you some feedback,
Yes.
however you want to describe that.
Yes, we give we actually made the portfolio available to interested parties throughout the county, our municipal partners, our vacant abandoned properties action council, anyone really who requested it, specific councilmen,
CDCs.
city councilmen, CDCs, et cetera. So we actually started with over 5,000 parcels, and then we made that list available in August. We made that list available in August, and these our municipal partners had approximately a month and a half to 2 months to let us know which parcels they wanted us to take out. Now we don't investigate. I mean, I'm taking them at their word. They may have a development deal, or they may have some other plans for those individual parcels. But yes, they do receive plenty of time to let us know what they don't want sold.
All right, just to follow up, so where are we at on that, in that timeline now? How close to the end of that are we? Are we at the end of it? Are we past the end of it? I don't know.
Okay. As far as municipal partners being able to pull from the sale, we have passed that date. And I have an agreement here which details what particular parcels, we call it the Schedule A. It's an attachment to the agreement, that specific parcels that FIG wants to purchase, or liens that they want to purchase, I should say.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, Councilwoman?
Thank you. So how often are we selling these liens? Is there a set schedule? How does this work?
We are in my tenure, we have made tax lien sales 3 of the 4 years. So the goal is to have an annual sale because of the impact that it has on our collections. What we're looking for is not only the ability to sell these liens, but there's also the added benefit of letting taxpayers know that at this point, you've been given 2 to 3 years to come in and make payments on your taxes. The lien sale is sort of a public. It's a very public collection. It sort of allows us to induce the taxpayer. We really want you to come in. It's really a collection tool. The goal is to have it and sale annually, so that taxpayers don't ever get themselves into a situation where, once we start down foreclosure proceedings, unless you redeem before we receive a judgment, your house is going to be subject to you taking away your house. So the tax lien, the goal is to have a tax lien sale annually. We've had a tax lien sale 3 of the 4 years that I've been treasurer.
So what is the caseload after the first couple of these, are they going down? What's the trend for the amount of tax lien sales? Not so much the amount of each lien, but how many parcels are subject to, of this process? Is that trending down in the county? Is it going up? What's, each time you go for a sale?
From my vantage point, it's usually about 3,000 to 4,000 parcels eligible for sale each year. In our experience, we sell between 500 and 1,000 in my tenure. So with that, what I'm gonna say is, residents know, because we've had annual sales, residents know that this is now a serious endeavor of the county. We give you every opportunity to come in and make payment arrangements, all the things that I've talked to you about before. So on a year-to-year basis, we're selling under 1,000. Because also, just to give you an example, a purchaser may pick 1,200 parcels 1,200 parcels, for the lien sale. If the taxpayers come in and 300 of those parcels are knocked off the list, the purchaser only gets 900, not the 12 that they asked for. So this, again, it's a collection tool. We need to work in concert. All the other collection methods that we have, plus the lien sale, keeps us collecting at a healthy clip. And right now, at least based on the last data that I looked at, we're about 92 to 93% collection rate annually.
Okay, and with regard to this company, I've heard three different names for them. On the paperwork, it says Finch. Is it Finch? F-I-N-C?
It's called the Finch Investment Group.
Okay.
FIG LLC is the
Local?
right,
The local, who's in Ohio City?
correct.
So this is a new company with which we're going to be dealing if this is approved?
That is correct.
And so how did this new company come to the fore? Was there a bidding process? How did you
Yes.
do this?
We had actually 8 interested inquiries to our tax lien sale. We received 3 actual bids. We scored the bids internally, my staff. We scored the bids internally, and then we actually, just for added review, I actually solicited representatives from the Office of Budget Management, as well as the Department of Development, to take a look at our scoring to see if there was anything inconsistent with what we came up with. I can tell you that what sold me on FIG was, first of all, the interest rate. 14% is, while it's not great, but just to give you some context, the county, here in the county, our interest rate is 12%. So I like the interest rate. I also like the fact that I have on-time, immediate information regarding all collection efforts for the parcels that FIG is going to have, or all the liens, I should say, that they're going to have. So that was a huge factor for me. If I look at it from the point of view of a taxpayer, the lowest interest rate, it resonated. I have to be quite frank with you.
So the last couple of tax lien sales, were with each of them different companies, or did you use?
The last 2 sales, we used the same company. We received a 16% interest rate on those sales.
What was that company?
Tax ease. Tax ease.
So the residents appreciate communication post-sale and even contact us as their council representatives, even after the tax sale goes forward. So I want to make sure there's going to be ability to have a line of communication between council members and the company that actually purchases the tax liens to facilitate any kind of concerns a taxpayer may have, a resident may have. Is that going to be something the company will be able to allow?
Yes, they would. Would you like me to bring Mr. Miles up?
Yeah,
If that's okay with the chair.
It's fine.
yeah, that's one of the things we take most importantly. We understand the need to be almost an outsource. I mean, we want to be an extension of the back office for both your taxpayers and then any community leaders, any community, interested groups, VAPAC we've reached out to. We want to have dialogue with everybody. We understand where the pain points have been in the past, and we want to get ahead of those as much as possible. So you will have my card, you'll have everybody's card. We have as far as servicing goes, that's one of the reasons we've been able to grow really quickly is we have a live hotline. We have 24/7 transparency for their office. So anytime a taxpayer calls, anybody in Cuyahoga County can come in, well, not anybody in Cuyahoga County, approved officials in Cuyahoga County can come in and see any notice we've ever sent, any information we've ever had on the lien, any communication notes between our servicing group. It's all right there. As far as reporting goes, I think the requirements of the bid were sort of some monthly reportings, but we give 24/7 access to any authorized people. And then as far as communication with us, we're more than happy to pick up the phone, and we look forward, like day one, we'll be reaching out to any and all people that have a voice and have an interest, any stakeholders in this deal. We want to make sure that we're keeping everybody in consideration.
Can I ask one more? So do you negotiate, do you allow taxpayers to pay in a lump sum and a discounted rate? Do you have options for them if they come forward?
We try to be flexible. For the most part, yeah, we like to see payment in full, but we do offer payment plans. We don't really advertise that we will, negotiate because you're opening up the floodgates at that point. And, full transparency, we are a for-profit company, but we have a sort of understanding group of investors that know that sort of stable, modest, long-term views on these relationships with counties is in the benefit of the company and our investors and the counties that we serve. And we feel that if we can do a good job being transparent and working with taxpayers and considering all the stakeholders, then we can be a long-term option for both Cuyahoga, but also other counties in Ohio and other states. And that's one of the reasons I think we've been considered, amongst our peers as someone that's kind of up and coming. And we're sort of, we view ourselves as sort of disruptors of the industry, which has in the past has been an industry where transparency hasn't been sort of a foremost consideration, and we view that as an opportunity to improve it. We have a National Tax Lien Association, which takes into account sort of best practice for the industries, and there's sort of a voice for our space, and whether it's investors or servicers or county officials. And I was recently elected to the board there, and I'm a part of the PR department for the National Tax Lien Association. So we really want to do our best for Cuyahoga and all of the stakeholders, and see if we can design and take feedback and make it something that can work and be an option for the long term. It's not easy, but we certainly are open to.
So one more, I'm so sorry,
No.
if that's okay. Is your office here, do you have lawyers on staff? Do you contract out with your lawyers to foreclose? What do you have here?
We contract out, and in a bid the size of the Cuyahoga bid, we'll have multiple councils in Ohio just to kind of guide us through the process, make sure we're not misstepping. But we understand that there's groups like Legal Aid that will want some visibility into what we're doing and our noticing, and we want as many people as possible to come in and bless kind of everything, so it's good, out of the gate. But yeah, we want to make quarterly meetings with FAPAC, all these groups. I think we have some ideas about how we can, just keep an open channel of communication so that everybody's considered.
Thank you.
Chair.
You want, go ahead.
Did you have a question?
I do, but
Please go right ahead.
well, it certainly sounds good. And all I mean by that is that, I'm aware that that these things have been difficult sometimes over time. And I was wondering what we've learned since we've done several of them, what not to do, what works. So you've introduced yourself to me earlier.
I'm sorry, Donald Miles. Yeah,
Where are you headquartered?
we're headquartered in Jacksonville, Florida.
Jacksonville, Florida. Everything comes from Jacksonville, Florida. But you have an office in Ohio City. Is that what I understand?
We have a small office. We're actually full transparency, we're kind of, we were recently awarded a contract in Summit County and a couple other counties, and we were kind of waiting to see where the contracts go.
That's where I'm trying to.
we're gonna get a bigger,
How big are you guys? I mean,
we have about 20 full-time employees in, well, and almost all of them are in Jacksonville. We have a
How
couple.
many counties have you? are you
Excuse me, Mr.
operating
Brady,
in?
can you
You've been
turn your
around?
microphone on?
I'm sorry. Excuse me.
Yeah, no problem.
How long have you guys been open with your disruptive new business?
In the last 5 years is really, I mean, our founder, who couldn't be here today on kind of short notice, but we'll get him up here. He's been purchasing liens since the early 2000s, but FIG as a company has been functioning for the past 5 years, and I think it's safe to say we're the fastest growing company in the country.
About how many counties, approximately how many states?
I mean, it varies by state. Some states will sell at the municipal level, but we're in over 300 jurisdictions across the country.
Okay, and in Ohio, how many?
We're in Summit, Portage, Hamilton, and hopefully Cuyahoga with a couple others. You know, we're looking to build a long-term kind of presence here across the state. So we've been looking and attending kind of county treasurer conferences in Ohio for several years now, trying to just sort of understand how it works and what the pain points were before we sort of really made the push that we're in the midst of doing now.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. One other thing I should say, just because I think one of the things that we get pushback on is we are a younger group, and a lot of times young means inexperienced, and I fully appreciate that. We admit that we don't know anything, but that's why we always look to partner with things. One of the things we have done in order to get kind of like a seal, another sort of feather in our hat, is we had Morningstar and Standard & Poor's come in, and they'll rate sort of a tax lien asset-backed servicer. They come in and into our office, and they do a full sort of peek under the hood of how our operations work. And both of those national rating agencies has given us kind of a stable rating and forecast for the future. And we just had that was the first time we got rated was last year, and we're in the process of being rated again. But we just had Morningstar come through, and I think Standard & Poor's is coming up real soon. So if you guys are interested in those reports when they come out, we'd be happy to share them too. So.
Okay, thank you.
Chris, you mentioned the CDCs. Were there any that did not respond?
Ooh, that's a good question. I'm gonna look back at my delinquency manager. All of them responded. So everyone has responded, and they did ask us to remove some parcels, some more than others, obviously. Some actual city councilmen, we've had a dialogue with, they pulled parcels as well.
Okay.
So what we don't want to do, we never want to get in a situation where we're selling a lien for a parcel where there may be other plans.
Right. Okay. In the past, we've had issues in terms of the methods for tax collection and concerns from the constituents. What assurances have you gotten that won't be an issue this time?
Well, first of all, I think we have a good agreement, which spells out how communication should be handled. We will have first rights to review any and all communication to the taxpayers. So if FIG is following the information that we've given them, we shouldn't have any issues. We're also going to take the time to reach out to Legal Aid, as well as some of our VAPAC partners, because they can help us with getting the message out as well. And so at this point, I really have no real concerns about FIG. I have talked to some of my brethren in the community that's already working with them, and they've been given very high marks for responsiveness as well as working within the community.
Did you have any strategies or approaches that you felt were not appropriate, and were they contractually built into what we have, into the relationship we have?
No, actually, Council, no, I think we've worked pretty hard at this for the last 4+ years now. And I think what we've learned is that an annual sale, as an example, helps your collection effort. Because what the sale does is it gives the taxpayers that are on the edge of foreclosure, meaning they've been absent for, let's say, 1 to 2 to 3 years. It gives them one last ditch effort. It gives them one last opportunity to come in and make those payment arrangements. Because once we start down the foreclosure continuum, there really is not much turning back for a taxpayer. So number one, having the sale is important, but also the consumer protections that we've built, we feel that we need to build into the contract. I believe that helps, and dare I say, legal aid has blessed our efforts, which is excellent, especially since I think one of the first things that I got when I sat in my office for the first time was the VAPAC report, which is about yay thick. And over the last 4 years, we've diligently checked off many of their recommendations. The recommendation, I mean, the feature that we have in the agreement now, compelling the purchaser to formally provide notice to the taxpayer regarding assignments. We've not done that in the county before. So again, it's all designed to try to make it as easy as possible on the taxpayer while also impressing upon them that this is a serious matter at this point.
So kind of giving that back to you, are you saying that the idea and strategy of an annual tax lien is to sort of be a threat to prevent foreclosure in the future?
It's a last-ditch effort. So it's not having a tax lien sale would make it more difficult for me to collect on a regular basis. Now, everyone, we're collecting every day. I mean, I think as of right now, just to give you an example, we're about $72 million. Last time I checked, we'll be sending out taxpayer notices within the next 2 weeks. But it all works in a continuum. And in the community, there's formal communication and there's informal communication. I believe what we've achieved now with having annual tax sales, the community understands that we are serious. And I've told you many times when I've been before this committee, tax collection is more of an art than a science. We need to continually impress upon the taxpayers that we are serious. What I don't tell people this often, but we get notices from taxpayers saying, okay, I've paid my taxes. What are you doing about the guy or gal two doors away from me? So we're trying to make sure that we are at least performing our due diligence. If I can say that I've given you every opportunity, and after 3 years, you've ignored 6 notices from me, at least. After 3 years, if I give you one last attempt at it, and you still don't respond, then I have to make an assumption that you don't want to retain the parcel, and then I need to pursue legal methods to get our revenue.
Mr. Miles? Yep. If I heard Mr. Murray correctly, there's nothing contractually around speaking to what boundaries are for strategies for collection. As you look across the industry and as a disruptor, have you seen any practices in the industry in terms of collection that you thought were inappropriate and things that you do or don't do?
I mean, unfortunately, yeah. I think in other states, there's been, where actually in Ohio, you have some fairly clear statutes which prevent some of these, but I think there's still the opportunity. But in other states, I think this is just one that comes to mind, for example, but once we initiate the foreclosure actions, there's the ability, there's some gray areas about what kind of fees can be thrown in, like as far as foreclosure fees, which make it even harder for a taxpayer who might at the last hour be able to come in and pay off. So there's sort of some front loading of some attorney fees and stuff like that. And then also from the county's perspective, there's not always visibility into what those fees are once a purchaser or servicer starts those foreclosure actions. So I think in other places, there's just that lack of transparency and lack of sort of clarity around what those fees are and what they can be. So what we've always tried to do is say, you're going to know, there are some, I think, contractual steps that sort of break out the fee schedules by foreclosure step, but also you'll have visibility into exactly what we've been invoiced from attorneys and everything into that. So that's just one thing that comes to mind, sort of lopping on fees to taxpayers who are already behind and, they're in danger of potentially losing their house. And for the record, we don't want to ever take properties. We're not in it for real estate acquisition at all. That's kind of the last. Of course, it's a collection mechanism, and really the last real threat of enforcement is pushing it to foreclosure. But we're not in the business of taking people's homes. We're really hoping to get some kind of interest. That's how we operate. I don't know if that answers.
What is your first step once you've received a set of properties, a tax lien? What is your first step? A letter? Phone
Yeah,
call?
I mean,
What do you
as
do
part
first?
of the county, and I think they actually do, compared to some other places that we operate in, they require quarterly notices at a minimum. So we have to send, by contract, a notice every quarter to, I think, the property address and the mailing address, if those are different. And then the county, again, through our system, will have the ability to log in and look at any parcel that they want. They can see the actual notice that went out, when it went out. And then if there was a call from a taxpayer, you'll see the notes from those calls. If there's a payment plan, you'll see the payment plan agreement. So there's, it's pretty transparent. Like we know we have to send quarterly notices, and when we send them out, they can actually go back and make sure you can kind of keep us honest as much as little as they want. I don't know if that answers your question, but and we can't even take foreclosure action until I think the first year by statute, and at least another year. So we're actually prolonging the period in which foreclosure action can even happen on these folks.
If you receive no response to the quarterly notification to either the house or the mailing address, what is your next step of action?
Unfortunately, at that point, we just kind of have to wait. I mean, we don't really have. I'd like to say we'd go house to house, but honestly, it's not something we have the resources to do, and I don't think anybody in our space really does. We'd be open to suggestion, and maybe that's an opportunity to talk to like the various city partners. Hey, these are the folks we haven't heard from, but that's a good question. I mean, we're always looking to solve problems like that, but yeah, I mean, we'll notice, and a lot of times we get incoming calls, and people can go on our website, which most tax servicers and purchasers don't have, so they can go in and get balance information on our site, and we get a lot of traffic that way. But as far as folks that are unresponsive, and that certainly happens a lot, unfortunately, we don't have a current strategy other than just kind of keep noticing.
That's it, only noticing. Never make phone calls?
I think there's some rules around calls, so we want to be sure that, we're not violating those, but maybe.
All right. So
Yeah, I
you're not allowed to make phone calls?
Yeah, there's some pretty, exactly. I think that,
Debt collection procedures.
yeah, there's some procedures that we have to abide by. So, if we can have our attorneys review that, that's a good thought, but we want to make sure, and if we ever did something like that, we certainly would have the blessing of the treasurer's office and the county groups, because,
But all communication is by letter?
yeah. I mean, unless it's internal. I mean, unless it's incoming, unless the taxpayer's reaching out to us. At that point, we'll email blast them. Once someone calls us, and we do get a lot of incoming calls from the notices, or they'll come to the county and ask about payment options, then they can track us down and
Gotcha. So the notifications actually have a phone number that they
Yep.
could use, so if they initiate contact, that is an allowed form of telephone communication.
Yes.
Okay. Speak briefly to the conversation that you have. If they call and everything goes well, then everything goes well. But if it's not a positive conversation, what phone strategies do you employ?
Well, there's no intimidation. It's just kind of letter of the law, like this is the option. If we understand that true hardships do occur, and we are willing to offer payment plans for folks. That's kind of the most we can kind of bend. But I mean, for full transparency, we are a for-profit company, so we do try to be as flexible, and I think you'll find that we're more flexible
Yes.
than most groups. But at the end of the day, these are taxes that the county needs. We're willing to pay the county, upfront in return for this service. So we try to be flexible, but at the end of the day, we're not a charity either. So we're constantly walking that line. I don't know if that answers your question, but as far as, I mean, what we do, and if we get interesting conversations all the time, I'm sure the treasurer's office does, from taxpayers. And we learn a lot from that. But, at the end of the day, I think the kind of the payment plans, the last sort of offer we can make to sort of work with taxpayers. And we'll even work with the treasurer's office about that. I don't know if we've talked about that yet, but in various places that we operate, some like a kind of 1 year only payment plan, because the problem with a long-term payment plan is, guess what? Their next year's taxes are going to be delinquent too, and they're kind of in this cycle of perpetual delinquency. So we're sort of always working. It's a little bit of art and science trying to figure out how to do that as well, because we can offer a payment plan for a couple of years, but then the next year's tax, it just never ends, right? So, but anyway, we're always considering those. We don't have hard rules necessarily, but always trying to think about best practices there and what works
Gotcha.
with the county.
As if they default on the payment plan, is there a new notification that's sent out, or?
Yeah, I mean, there's some language in the contract about the cure period and everything, but I mean, we don't advertise this either, but we try to be pretty flexible there too. We're not gonna, the day they default the first time, we usually have a pretty flexible grace period, where we hope to get people back on track. As the treasurer's office I'm sure knows, like, defaulted payment plans are just a reality that you have to deal with. And it's a pain, frankly, but, it's something that we constantly wrestle with. But one thing we don't do is just say, oh, they're 2 weeks delinquent, or they're 2 weeks default, foreclosure. We've never done that.
Okay. All right, well, thank you very much. Are there any other questions from the committee?
Just a comment.
Yes.
Just final comment from me, anyway. I'm encouraged by the fact that you're talking about attending the VAPAC meetings. I think that is, certainly something local that's unique, and that you can learn a lot, get a lot of good advice from people who really focus down on that all the time. Just as long as you keep in mind, they're pretty focused, really good people, pretty focused on the inner city, and so we have to think countywide all the time. So they're a great resource, but just remember what their focus is, which of course is in an area that would make all the what you would expect.
Right. Yeah, I mean, they were an obvious group. We reached out to Frank Ford prior to bidding, just to kind of understand his thoughts about what had worked and what hadn't worked in the past, and that's good feedback that they're focused on a specific sort of set, where we bought liens countywide.
Well, obviously the inner ring suburbs in particular have almost the very same challenges, but a lot of the folks in VAPAC do tend to focus within the city, Cleveland proper.
Well, I think that would be part of our sort of onboarding process, is reaching out. I don't know, the council's a good starting point, but like, who are the other groups that we should reach out to? And we're open. I'll give you all my cards and all the council people cards, and let me know.
That'd be good.
We'd be interested to hear who we can talk to. And it's easy. It's also easy to talk. It's a little harder to walk the walk. So we'll see, you know, if we're alive in a couple of years, but no, we intend to be, but we do
Yeah, We'll
come in with
pay
good
close
intention.
attention.
Yeah.
All right, any further questions from the committee? If not, Chris, are you seeking any suspensions of rules?
Yes, I was just going to say that, Councilman. If it pleases the committee, we need to get the sale executed. If we could, I humbly request that if you can approve this with suspension of rules, that would help us out a great deal. That would allow us to execute the sale December 12th,
December 12th.
which would be the earliest that we can do.
Okay. So I see we have a proposed substitute. Are you aware?
What's the substitute? Is the name
Actually,
changed?
take a moment and,
Oh, yes, if the name changed, sorry.
Yes. Excuse me, the resolution authorizes FIG as custodian for FIG Ohio 18 LLC. So this is the actual entity that will execute the sale.
so this is as Councilwoman Simon asked about the names of the company? Is this
Yes.
a different?
This is, and you can probably explain this better, Don, but this is the actual legal entity that executes the wire.
Yeah, when we purchase, the funds will come from this FIG OH18, which is an Ohio entity, and it's just an investment vehicle where the funds are come from. The servicing will be Finch Investment Group, and we're at Jackson, Florida. And we have lenders, and they just require that it's purchased under this entity, but, you know, there's nothing.
Okay. All right, and this has been submitted by the administration. This is,
Yes.
okay. All right, well, I'll make a motion that we introduce the proposed substitute for this piece of legislation. Do we have a second? Moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye. Ayes have it. So on our proposed legislation, you would like a second reading suspension. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes.
All right. So again, I'll make a motion that we introduce this legislation under second reading suspension. Moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye. Ayes have it. All right.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. All right. Is there any miscellaneous business? If not, if nothing else holds our attention, this meeting is adjourned.